Right, let's do this. Kamur and Chetty, I'm firing you both for not greeting me, so I'll make sure that I mark your exam a lot stricter than I mark everyone else's. So this is the exam brief, and I did say that I would work through the exam brief, and we can see what I've attempted to do. I seriously hope I didn't mess this up. So, Wendy, if you guys could just check that I have got the right recordings, etc. I'm hoping that that should be fine. So these are the slides. They're not the most exciting slides ever, and we'll go through them very rapidly. I've tried to give the page numbers where they mattered. If the page numbers didn't matter, I just skipped over them. So the first one, global sourcing, logistics, and transport management. So you'll see that this was put together. So we know that from a sourcing perspective, what organizations do is they tend to source from areas where you would have that kind of competitive advantage, location advantage. And it's the old story that you manufacture in China, you assemble elsewhere, you market in America, and you design in Germany. So often, in terms of global sourcing, it really is about getting from countries where they have these kinds of things. And again, China ticks each of these boxes. Not so much anymore. Chinese labor has got a lot more expensive as their skill levels have risen. But from a skills perspective, they are almost incomparable in terms of what they can deliver and still be efficient, and also where the low cost materials are, and other stuff. So the stuff that government steps in and says, what can we do to promote exports? In terms of logistics, I think you guys understand that logistics is that process of moving your components from wherever they are sourced through the organization. Generally, in terms of that components process, there is some sort of assembly that will happen within the organization. And then obviously there will be again some logistics process in terms of getting our manufactured items to different areas across the globe. The kinds of issues, then you need to just define these and just add a bit to the slides. So logistics, the overall idea of the movement of things between ultimately suppliers and customers. Inbound logistics from your suppliers, normally as part of just in time, into the assembly process. Materials management in terms of making sure we have the right components at the right place at the right time, and then making sure that we move those components that we've received to the right place in terms of the assembly process, and then obviously getting these manufactured bits and pieces to our customers, or to our, if you are selling cars, for example, or manufacturing cars, to the showroom floors. Transportation management, again, the various forms of transport that we have available, air, rail, road, water, etc. We know that transportation technology has improved significantly in recent times, and we've also seen how that has made the world smaller, much like information technology, one of the drivers of globalization. The kinds of things that we have here are those there. So no dramas, no headaches in terms of that one whatsoever. In terms of question 2, yeah, capital budgeting. We've spoken a bit about capital budgeting, the process, guys, and I am just going to depict it here. I just want to grab a blank page. You'll recall that it works a bit like this, and I hope that I can do this properly using this document. But it starts normally, and this normally starts with C footnote 0. So in terms of that 0, it should sit as a footnote. I'm I don't even know how I'll do that. I don't even think it's physically possible for me to do that, but you'll get a sense. It's footnote 0, which is generally your initial investment. So in terms of your initial investment, and it is then the question of, if you have multiple projects that you are likely to pursue, this here would be repeated in a number of places. I suppose I can just do this properly so that it does make better sense. So our initial investment, those initial investments would be for project A in this instance, project A, project B. I don't know why I've created the extra column, project C. I'm not going to fill the extra column, but that then goes there. So the initial investment, and the reason it's C footnote 0 is because it is at time 0. It is right now, it's present time. Remember, it is about discounting to where we are now. And then, yeah, you guys will remember the term present value. You would then look at that initial investment. And I'm just going to make it all the same. I don't know how many zeros there were. I don't particularly care. And for this one as well, then we would look at the cash flow of these periods. And again, oh my goodness me, why would I do it like that? So you would have cash flows over certain periods of time, and this would again be footnote. I don't know why I'm going to try and do this here 1, and remember it's footnote. It sits a little bit at the bottom. So cash flow year 1, and we'll take that over time. You should remember this. This should be year 2. Bugger off. Okay, hold on. This is going to be a pain. You can imagine that these are in future just footnotes. So you would have cash flow for the length of the project. I'm now being pedantic, and I suppose that's just who I am. And it clearly is very boring because people are leaving already.
I think that person said they got to turn with their laptop, sir.
Okay, boy, I didn't pay attention. Okay, and then it is your terminal cash flow, TCF. So your terminal cash flow is somewhere in the future. In this instance, it will be in year 6. So the terminal cash flow essentially is when this project is finished. If we then, hold on a second, the terminal cash flow is at the end, the amount that we are likely to retrieve from the from the sale of whatever assets there are, from rehabilitating the land, etc. You would then put in those figures there, and essentially what it means is that this is cash flow in year 1, cash flow in year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We also know that we need to, from a present value perspective, take those cash flows to year 0, and that then gives you a net present value. Generally, what happens is companies will accept projects that have a positive net present value. They generally will not accept things that will break even, and then they will ignore. So it allows companies to determine which projects they should embark on. Does anyone remember that from year 1? From first year, you would have done it. You would have done it in second year as well. It has been a long time since I've done finance, guys. It's been a while. Okay. So in terms of capital budgeting, what we're looking at, it really is to plan your future cash flows. It is to look at your initial investment, look at potential income in terms of cash flows over periods of time and your terminal cash flow, and then saying to yourself, which of these projects that potentially are available to us will we embark on? I mean, so if you are Anglo-American and there are some platinum deposits available in Zimbabwe, you would calculate what, in terms of the testing, how much platinum there is. You would then calculate what your initial investment would be in terms of the setting up of whatever project and drilling and setting up tunnels. I don't know how you mine platinum. And then you would look at the years of the project, the rehabilitation costs, selling off the assets. That would give you a fairly good idea of whether this is viable or not. You should remember this from first year, guys. So the payback period is, in terms of our example there, I've only made it 5 years, and then terminal cash flow in terms of year 6. And then I think also the net present value. I hope that I've written net present value. Yes, I did. Okay, and it really is that process of determining which projects you will embark on, which projects you'll ignore. Question 1.3, just to look at this again, examine the developmental stages of an MNC's evolution. Yeah, so guys, we've seen this. This generally is when, and you need to just spend a little bit of time looking at 251 to fill in the blanks and the detail. So the first one, pre-export, is often a company that is really successful at the local level. We think, for example, of Nando's, initially very popular in Rosebank in Johannesburg, and then from there became a national franchise, and data saturation and customer saturation, market saturation was reached. And then it is when, at that stage, they decided, let's start looking elsewhere. So they're not an export company, but the reality, if you're a manufacturer, we will do that. So starts off being successful at home, starting off with exporting your products to people that are interested, getting to a point where you now have got agents receiving your products, distributing. And here is where you start that initial getting a footprint in a number of countries. Here you are now present in more countries, and essentially here you are a global player. So the kind of Googles and Microsofts, etc. Any questions in terms of what is there? I think this is one of those questions that is well worth doing. I would definitely look at just expanding on that a little bit. Guys, any questions? Everyone okay with that? Do you want me to do this recording per each of the questions, or can I just do the recordings all together?
If you're okay with this, per question would be nice.
Okay, no problem, boy. Okay, so that's recording 1. Let me just stop it. It takes a moment to load.